Yes, yes, people. Yes, how's everyone doing? Good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you're listening on the playback or wherever you're listening live to me right now. I'm your host, White Matters. It is Tuesday, the 26th of April. It is now 6:30. Yes, I've started started earlier than I expected, but with good reason. I am not going to be with you too long today because it's Champions League night. So I thought I normally do my streams Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I thought this Tuesday I got Man City versus Real Madrid. And I was like, yeah, I want to make sure I can get this stream out beforehand, and so at least get the content rolling. So at least you can know that I'm still around, still cater for the content. So hope everyone is listening is blessed. Let's say what's up to people in the chat. KB, evening, evening. Hope you are doing well. Hope you're doing blessed. As always, bro. As always, when it comes to talking about the younger generation, this, the younger generation, that. But we're gonna get into it tonight. We're gonna get into it tonight. Um, appreciate you stopping by, Skittles, man. All right, no problems, man. Appreciate you stopping by. Again, I'm not going to be here too long, people. So if you're expecting a long live stream, unfortunately, I'm going to have to disappoint you. Again, I got some other footballing priorities to take care of. So yeah, on another one, it might be a bit longer. Fiona, evening. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well. Actually, what I'm going to do, before I even get into the stream, I'm actually going to put the link in the chat if in case you want to come up, because the topic is exactly what the live stream said. And there's an article I just want to read just before I sort of bring anyone up. So the link is pinned to the chat. So if anyone wants to come up and have their, 2 pence on this sort of topic, it's a topic that's very oftenly heard with millennials. So anyone who's in that millennial generation will have heard this more often than not. But an article I came across in which, again, it was discussing the difference between the generations. Let's just call it that. So I'm just going to share my screen and get into the article. So bear with me a second. My internet is going a bit slow. Well, the article is going a bit slow. All right. Okay. All right, here we go. So it's a Daily Mail article, so take this with whatever pinch of salt or however you want to take it. But it's nothing that's uncommon. So millennials require a different kind of management. Now, Recruitment boss says Generation Y has an inflated sense of entitlement with a loathing of conflict after accountant 26 lost age discrimination claim after he was fired for being demanding. We're going to get into all of this in a second. Now, apparently, millennials have an inflated sense of entitlement, loathe conflict, and require a different kind of management than older generations, according to a top recruitment boss. Gary Ashworth, a recruitment specialist with 40 years experience, please. Generation Y excel. I think they mean Generation Millennials when they say Y, but millennials excel in the workplace due to their pleasant and kind personality traits. Okay, that's one of these backhanded compliments before he hits us with it. But cool. Most of us, as he puts it, have kind and pleasant personality traits. Nothing wrong with that. So, however, he says millennials, a term commonly referring to those born between the years 1981 and 1996, have an inability to deal with conflict. And I'm going to show about how, for me, that is a massive over exaggeration, and for me, a lot of that is BS. And I'm going to tell you, in my lifetime, the people who have given me the most amount of trouble. Let's continue. He believes employers should be doing more to teach younger workers about the benefits of conflict in the workplace. His comments come after a young accountant sued his middle-aged boss for age discrimination after she sacked him and told him he's too demanding like his generation of millennials. The employment tribunal heard our bosses told Jay Patel expected things to be handed to him on the plate after sacking him from his job at London-based Lucy A. Raymond and Sons. I think it carries on to talk about how he's got dyslexia, But again, the article continues and it's all about how millennials need to better respond to criticism and all this kind of. And there you see the person right there. And when I read this article, because this is one of the things which, again, has been commonly associated with millennials, and one of the things which for me personally, I'm going to say this: all the millennials who are demanding, entitled, spoiled, all that good stuff, of course they are. I'll be the first person to admit it. I've met some people of my peer group who, for the life of me, I'm just like, where you born? Where you born? But I think a lot of that is just throughout any generation. I don't see a generation where you don't have entitled people. You would always have entitled people. I don't think this is generation specific. Now, maybe you would argue millennials have more of a tendency to do this sort of stuff. And I'm like, maybe, but I'm going to tell you this. Because in the article, it said this. They don't understand, or, we loathe conflict. We can't handle conflict resolution. But I'm going to tell you this, in my workplace, the biggest conflict I've ever had or I've ever seen are from people from the older generation. You know the reason why? because a lot of them expect younger people just to respect them off the back of their age. This is something which I believe a lot of times older people have a difference or have um a very I won't say hatred to it, but they really, really have this sticking point because in their generation it was respect your elders. Now, I'm never going to tell you don't disrespect your elders or don't respect your elders, but I will say this: a lot of millennials I've come across, they aren't afraid to tell old generations when they're wrong, where they're wrong. Now they may go about it a different type of way, but one thing I've noticed, and again, I've had examples in the workplace where the moment you clap back to an older person, they almost feel as if, oh, you shouldn't be talking to me this way. I'm older than you. You shouldn't be talking to me this way. I'm like, hold on a second, hold on a second. A lot of old generations, believe it or not, they actually don't like it when you come back at them. They expect you to take all these things, and the moment you complain, oh, you're just being demanding, or you're just being the typical millennial, or you're just being this, because their school of thought is because I'm older than you are, I must know better. They know better. Even if they're wrong, you must sit up and listen to me. And I'm like, hold on a second, hold on a second. I find it ironic how they always say, oh, but you guys don't know how to conflict resolve and you guys don't know how to do this. But yet, when we do say what we want to say, when we do actually come back against the so called establishment, now it's you're snowflakes, you're entitled, you're lazy, all this kind of tropes that gets associated with millennials. I'm like, I find it hilarious. Here's what it really is. Whenever somebody comes to change the status quo, whenever someone comes to challenge power or authority, this is where it comes down to. It's even when it comes to life. And this is where I will give them some credit. I'll tell her the truth. The current culture is set up in place where everything now is some sort of activism. So the current culture now is, again, you've got all these different groups, all these different isms, all these different obias. So the culture now actually is not one of sitting down and taking the status quo. The culture actually is one of rebellion. I don't know if people realize this. Again, you got the trans movement with the LGBTQ. I know these different separate movements. You have Black Lives Matter. You have all these movements that are there to challenge. And this is what all the people don't like. Because in the workplace, let's take this for example. Back in the day, racism was as rife as it ever been, and that was considered banter. Guess what happens? Millennials are like, no, F that. We don't like that. That's not banter. That's racism. Women in the workplace, what do women have to go through? They went through sexism as if it was nothing. But again, that was called old school banter. Now women, the millennial ages and a bit older, I'll be honest with you, are saying, no, we don't like that. That's sexism. That's you discriminate against me because I'm a woman. We don't like that. Therefore, we need laws in place. This is exactly what takes place. So what I always find interesting is the millennials who have stood up for themselves, who have made the change in the workplace. This is where the culture gets this is where, for me, the culture gets a little bit different with the older generations. Because you know how it is when you talk to the older people. It's like when it comes to things like blackface. I'm like, a lot of the old generations have zero problems with blackface. But I'm like, in order for it to get to this situation here, it had to take a generation of people to say, you know what, we need to stand up and actually say, no, we do not like this. No, we do not like that. And this is what kills me the most when I hear a lot of older generations. A lot of older generations, when you actually listen to what they're actually saying, infer what they're saying, a lot of times, not always, but a lot of times it's a case of you need to listen to what I say, do what I do, even if I don't do it that way. And then if he's trying to say anything back to me, you're being disrespectful, you're being rude, you're not respecting your elders. Especially in like a lot of cultures, like black cultures, I just honestly is growing up. If you even like looked at your parents or looked at older people the wrong way, I'm telling you, they would say something about it. You had to just shut up and take it. That was the kind of the older generation's viewpoints on the younger people. If I'm older than you are, you have to respect my authority just by based off age, not wisdom. That's why I have a lot of older people who are stupid. Because a lot of older people think by the courtesy of their age, they're wise. That's not true. A lot of older people, I'm sorry, I don't listen to this. Is why I won't say I have a problem with a lot of older people. But a lot of older people, I'm like, I don't respect you as much as you think I should based on your age. Because a lot of the things that come out of your mouth is pure foolishness. And that's the difference. A lot of the younger generations now, they're focused on different things and different outcomes. And this is where the culture cloud comes in when it comes to generational gaps. Let's just be real. Because again, yes, nowadays younger people, we're not looking for the necessarily the stereotypical jobs. We are looking for a little bit more of what we call a work-life balance. We're looking for different things. We have different priorities. Whereas older people, I think it's just a case of, you know what, this is how it was, this is set in stone, this is how it should be. It's more of a case of, again, growing up, go university. By the time you're 30, you're married, have kids, you have a house. It's always like an ABCD rules of this is how it should be. And a lot of the younger generation now are just challenging these things. So I'm just like, are we demanding? Do we have an inflated sense of ego? Maybe so, maybe not. I think a lot of things is just challenging things. It's not a bad thing. But a lot of old generation don't like challenge. I'm just going to be real with you now, brother Kale. Welcome, welcome. I don't know how much you've caught of the stream, but well, first off, good evening. Hope you're doing well.
Good evening, brother White Man. Brilliant, brilliant topic. Controversial, but needed to be spoken about. As everything.
Yeah, everything's well, bro. Everything is well. Everything's well. So what do you think on the topic? How do you see the generation difference? Do you see there's an issue here with the younger generation being more entitled, or is it just a case of we probably just don't have the right communication set up? There's just a difference in viewpoints.
I would say it's the communication because you know the elders. Um, what the millennials got to understand is that as you're getting older, you can see like everything seems to be leaving you, and you're getting closer to the walking stick as well as the grave, man. And then you're getting like the youth that they're getting like older and stuff, right? And then you know what they know, but then they're telling you in the wrong way. It can be very intimidating. Me as a an elder myself, you know, um, I've my kids are millennials, and I listen to them, etc. But sometimes they'll say certain things, and it's like, whoa, that caught me off guard.
Right.
And that's what it is. The millennials have got to understand that, we understand that you are going to push forward the knowledge, the economics, which we have laid out but haven't pursued properly. But you gotta have a little bit of wisdom with us elders, man. You know what I mean?
No, that's true. That's very true. Now, I made a statement where, and I don't know how much you agree with this, is I think a lot of elders, because as you get older, this is, I think every generation will get this when they get older, you get more stuck in your ways because you kind of understand life as you see it. So you kind of stuck in your ways, you have your viewpoints already affirmed. There's not too many things that's going to change it after a certain age. Now, do you think because of that, a lot of millennials, or they see older people see millennials or younger generation as, well, you don't know what you're talking about, so they just kind of see them as, "Ugh, you just again demanding, entitled because you don't know from when you're born, that kind of stuff." When in actual fact, millennials will just see things differently. 'Cause I always think older people, some of them, they are very, very, they're stuck in their ways, but not in the right ways. I think it's just a case of they were taught when they was younger to do this, but we're like, no, 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 no. This is probably a better way to do it. I don't know. I always think that older people have a way of, they think their ways is the right ways. The old ways are always the best ways. And sometimes I'm like, well, is that really the case? Because look where we are now. You see what I mean?
Yeah, it's comfort zone.
Yeah,
It's been told that you have to think out the box
yeah. Right.
and adapt and bring out new strategies and new development to the environment. And as an elder, that can be very scary because you've been taught one-sided way. I mean, as an African descendant, I was talking to a fellow African descendant before, is that when it comes to we live in a very capitalistic system.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was saying that for African descendants, particular, is that they should learn the African traditional economics, right? How it was, and then apply that to modern times to erase the capitalistic mindset of as long as you do for me, I don't have to do for you, and
Yeah.
this type of mindset. And the elders, although some of them lack knowledge, but at the same time they paved the way. A lot of the time as well, White Matters, I'm going to be honest with you, it's that that fear of I've got to leave the throne and give it to someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I have to literally give you the torch now. That can be very intimidating. So
Do you know
yeah.
what? You've raised a great point about the torch. And this is where I will give older generations credit over millennials. Now, this may just be circumstance. So, for example, the average age of buying a house has increased. The average age of starting a family now has increased. So back in the old generation, by 30, most of them were married, kids, had a house just because of the things were cheaper, the cost of living. So I think they were grown up quicker, sooner. Whereas millennials, let's be honest, a lot of us have delayed adult, we call it adulting. So we've delayed adulthood because of a lot of people living at their home longer. So do you
Yeah.
think the older generation see handing over the throne to a bunch of unworthy people? I don't know if that's what I see from them. They see us as being unworthy because we've not grown up yet fast enough at where they was at their respective age. I know older people say, when I was at your age, I was this, I was that, which is fine. But unfortunately, because of the society, because of house prices are ridiculous, wages aren't going up in inflation, everything's going on, which sounds like a cope, but it's just the truth. So I don't know. Do you think that old generation don't see the younger generation as being worthy enough to be able to hand over the mantle, if that makes sense?
But I'll be honest with you. I said this before. The millennials are definitely paving the way when it
Right.
comes to businesses. You know, you cannot take that away from them. I mean, wherever you go, whether it's out of the UK or in America, the millennials are like, you know, succeeding with businesses. They're promoting everything, so we cannot take that away from them. However, there are some of us where like it's that kind of you know, that fear of we haven't exactly done what we're supposed to be doing. A lot of
Right.
the elders, they've lost their desire to help out the next generation. You know, unfortunately some of them are mentally defeated. So the fact that you're gonna get you know, a next generation who has a lot of energetic enthusiasm towards, you know, we want to pave the way, we want to make this successful, and the fact that you haven't done that yet or gave up, that could be very intimidating. So yeah, to kind of, you know, it's like a mask of you're not worthy of it,
Mm.
you know, and it's ridiculous because, you know, we're not here to stay long on the earth. You have to pass you know, knowledge, wisdom, blueprints to the next generation. They are your you know,
Actually,
immortalization
yeah,
of
yeah,
you
yeah.
trying to live forever. You know what I mean?
I do. And on this comment here by controversial but true, which is very true here, and I wanted to bring up a name, and I know everyone know the name, but I want to hear your viewpoints on this because I think it encapsulates exactly what you're saying about gatekeeper from the elders. Robert Mugabe was damn near 100 years old before he gave up the throne. Do you see a lot of in the race of black people, a lot of Robert Mugabe's who they will not, even when they know their time is done, past the time that they're done, they will not. They will hold on to power to their dear life. Do you see a lot of that happening?
Yeah, well, first of all, before I answer that, I do want to say that Robert Mugabe, he had his there were certain issues, but we have to respect what he did in regards to you know, taking back
Power.
the stolen lands and giving it back to the Zimbabwe. So we applaud him for that. Yeah, he is there is that Brother White matters. A lot of our leaders, African leaders, and those who understand political science and ego, you see them, you know, a lot of them are very old, and you know, the creators allowed them to live a certain life, but because they've lost that juice, they need to give the torch, the throne, to the youngsters, and they don't want to give that up. Remember, we're a people, if you're referring to us, that we have been disfranchised, and we have definitely been um you know, our value has been taken away from us. So the fact that you're in a position of leadership, and leadership gives value, to give that up, knowing the background, unfortunately, where we're coming from, can be very threatening. So yeah, you definitely see that in a lot of revolutionary leaders, etc. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. And because where I'm at with things right at the moment is probably a lot of us younger generation, we're probably gonna have to use that word revolution, go through sort of either a there's going to be a turning point naturally because of age, death. We're going to assume the throne. Some of them naturally, some of us, I think, will have to go through a stage of revolution, if you like, in which let's try and use it. We'll have to topple the old regime and replace it with a new regime. And
Yeah.
one of the things I just wanted to sort of pick your brains on, since obviously you seem to, you have the best of both worlds given your circumstances, is do you see a situation where, I know you said that millennials starting business, and obviously that's true, the younger generation even more so. Do you
Yeah.
think that's the case where we're in a are we capable of being able to lead? Do you see that as being a situation we can do that? Because again, there's so many things about millennials, snowflakes, can't handle conflicts, everything like that at all associated. But I don't know. Do you see us having the capability, or is it a fact of we've not had the blueprints to be able to embolden us to do so?
Oh, the millennials definitely have the capability. I mean, if I can't help but to do this because I'm an African descent. But if you look at our line of freedom fighters, they've all been young. Brother White Matters, every last one of them, man. They've always been young. So those who are going to discredit to say, well, the millennials, they don't have that capacity, because they're too young. No, they definitely have a lot of potential. The only thing is that in order to know how to lead, you must know how to follow. And the elders, not all of them, but some of them, because they've got the blueprint of how to understand certain situation, it's very important and very wise as a millennial to capitalize on that blueprint, right? Formulate a modern day blueprint that doesn't exactly go out of the ancient ways, but in other words, you're innovating to suit the times. That would be very marketable, as well as a great strategy for the millennials. If they were to do that, it would definitely be successful. Because you know myself, when I was very very young, you want to do a lot of things, but because you have that kind of that naivety, that I- that I won't say arrogance, but that type of
Inflated confidence.
yeah, you have that as well, and obsolete sometimes as well. But you
Right.
need someone that's going to help you to say, okay, you know what, that's good what you're doing, but calm down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Take a step back. Assess the situation, and then go forward. That is definitely needed.
No, that's very true. And funny enough, especially with the internet, and a lot of millennials I've seen this is where they're lacking that mentor, lacking a lot of father figures or even motherly figures who I think they probably felt they wasn't given the right guidance. So they've been out trying to do what they want to do, and they've probably gone down a path they really thought, if only I had that right person to lead me or at least advise me, I would have gone down a different route had I known this. So I do agree. I think there's a situation here where a lot of us are now, especially internet, we're trying to find that in order to sort of, what's the word, regain a sense of purpose.
Yeah,
Um, which I do, which is a good thing in a certain way, but also can be very, very telling on the culture. How it has there been, just like you said, the old generation of sort of thought, you know what I mean? And it's left a void there where a lot of the younger generations don't have that sort of sense of community as it used to be. I remember growing up and I still felt it more. As I've grown older, it's a bit less and lesser. So I wonder
yeah,
how the younger generation feels, but there's definitely like a void there where a lot of men and women are looking for that kind of mentor, even fatherly or motherly figure
yeah.
to guide.
Most definitely.
And unfortunately, a lot of these spaces aren't healthy, and that's
Mm,
where I'm a little bit hesitant of it. Where maybe, yeah, there needs to be a situation where a lot of the, I want to say it's all by choice, but yeah, there's definitely a situation where the old generation have probably, um, yeah, there needs to be more in that sort of in that way around it for sure, for sure. Um, one thing I was saying, next thing I was going to say or going to ask in regards to this is when it comes to, I suppose, where the culture is heading. Because my fear, this is my fear now with the millennials in charge. And again, forgive me for this, but some of the things I'm seeing, I'm more afraid than I am. I want to say, what's the word? Elated. It's just by the trends of, we have a society now where everything is more. Okay, you got trans movement, LGBTQ movement. There's a lot of things which I would say we could probably take a leaf out of the old generation's book. Gender is now a social construct. I mean, who would have thought that 10, 20 years ago? So there are some situations where I do think the culture has gone too far in a way where it's everything's rebellious and there's not enough
Mm.
structure guidance there. What are your thoughts on that kind of thing?
I would answer that is what I've noticed if you go into companies, workplaces, there's always some form of a code of conduct. Like,
Right.
okay, you can be, well, of course, you have to be a male or a female. You have to be a human being, right? Well, then again, there's robots now, isn't there? So,
True.
but they'll allow you, for you to be from some type of religion or some type of sexual orientation behavior, whatever it may be. But at the same time, the companies understand that we have a culture, a code of conduct in this company that we want to build and make successful. So you can, advocate to whatever label you want to, but in here, this culture is a code of conduct. Marketing all these products, getting this out. Um, so this is what the millennials are going to have to do when they're navigating with all these different types of groups. They have to always have a code of conduct, some form of a filter, a line that, although this is going on, but I won't cross that line because it's going to dissever, economics, generational wealth, incapacity of thinking correctly. So they're gonna have to have a culture of code of conduct, and that's how I would answer that.
No, I mean, definitely in terms of what you said, I agree. I think the only thing is, like, as you would testify, is that code would always seems to change. The code, like for example, in the world right now, the culture now, the code has definitely changed than it was 10, 20 years ago. I was mentioning how in the workplace, for example, a lot of things were said in the workplace that was classed as banter. That would not be allowed today. Even at workplace, things have been said where, oh, you can't say that now because of the new code of conduct. And like all things, it's not like if I use the Bible or the Quran, that's a text
Right.
that's set in stone. It's outside of you interpreting it differently, that the text is still the text how many thousands of years ago. Whereas when we do things, it always seems to be a living, breathing document that changes just at the whims of whoever's in charge. But no, overall, I definitely agree with your code. I think there has to be a code of conduct. I'm just worried about some of the codes that have definitely fallen off. Where I'm like, if I do bring kids into this world, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm gonna have to worry about things which I never thought possible. But it's just the way how the world is going to evolve to, I assume.
Well, the thing is, why it matters is, as human beings, right? Um, the way how we've been created, we've been given certain tools. Like one of them is emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
So if you look at it in a gathering, right, you're gonna have like the elders, the youngsters, different types of groups, right? And one must understand that if you are gonna say anything or banter, you have to have a good emotional intelligence towards the crowd that you are, speaking to. The thing is that you can say a lot of things, but it's how you say it. And are you going to make the person feel bad about it? Because there's a lot of things. I mean, you got comedians, controversial again.
Yeah.
They'll say certain things, but at the same time, it's the crowd that you are, speaking to or entertaining. As long as you've got emotional intelligence, right, and you kind of, it's like, that that saying in it, I'm gonna give you a little bit of the hair, the dog that beat you, lighten it up
Yeah. Yeah.
with a little bit of, and don't be too harsh, but at the same time, don't be too soft. If you can find that balance, then you'll be able to banter in any group as long as it doesn't come out of that equilibrium of wisdom, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. And I think the key word you said there was emotional intelligence, which is a very, very difficult one. And funny enough, this is one of the things I was going to next pivot to about a lot of emotional intelligence for me is born out of, I suppose it's that social understanding, but it does require a bit of conflict
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, you was mentioning comedians and certain groups, certain groups you can say certain things. If you're smart enough, to certain groups you can't say the same thing. You have to tailor your message to the audience. But one of the things which was discussed about in this article about millennials is we can't conflict resolve. We're basically too soft, and it's interesting because a lot of the old generation they perceive themselves And this is where sometimes there's a bit of revisionist history here, as they could take anyone's coming and screaming in their face saying, you're terrible, you're this, you need to do better. And I don't think that's what happened in the old generation. I still think there were a little bit of, I suppose, emotional intelligence, some sort of care and attention to how they deliver the message. But it seems as if what they want us to do now is to take everything that comes our way with just, okay, thanks, boss. I'll take it under advisement. I'll do better next time, as opposed to saying, well, hold on, you shouldn't be talking to me that kind of way. So I always think nowadays there's a massive emphasis on emotional intelligence, whereas beforehand, the old generation, like, no, you're too soft. You should be able to handle the telling off. I'm like, well, I don't think any human being wants to be told certain things. That's just natural. If I talk to older people that way, they would definitely not like it. So why would you think I would like it just because I'm young? I don't know. So
well, the thing is, it's I've always said, right, this life is it's very political, and whatever a political agenda you have, it can be campaigned. So let's say, for example, discrimination against women, right? Now, joking about them things, we have to be very careful, because remember, they are coming from a background where they were oppressed. In many cultures, they were treated as a vessel and slaves.
Right.
So the thing is, I get it. For the women, is that there's certain languages that, if it's used, it can be campaigned to oppress them. Do you understand? So certain words, certain language, it makes sense why you have to be careful. For example, when it comes to our community as African descendants, right? Now, I remember years ago, when I was working in a European workplace, right? And there was like these. I remember there was a European guy, and he heard something. There was about a joke. I don't know if you can remember. Dan Rickles is a comedian from the 40s, but he used to say a lot of derogatory terms towards black people, which in the 70s, the 60s, they found it very funny. And he was talking about those things, and I was saying that black people, because we have been disfranchised and unjustly, with unethical code of conduct of tremendous character assassination, that you could say a word and you can make it marketable, campaign it, and we are going back in enslavement again. And he understood it that way, but I could see from his body language, it's like, well, we should be able to get over it. But the thing is that you're not going through it. So when it comes to we should be able to handle this, handle that. Yeah, but if it's going to be campaigned to assassinate and lead to people getting hurt and attacked, then we definitely have to be cautious of how we banter.
No, that's very fair, actually, because do you know when you mentioned the comedian Don Rickles, I was also going to mention Jim Davison. Do you remember the British comedian? I don't know if you remember Jim Davison at all. He had a funny accent. I find it funny listening back to it, but that wouldn't be allowed today, where he called us chalky and whatnot like that. And stereotypical. And the crowd was just laughing, even black people back in the day. So no, I do understand where you're coming from, where a lot of these things, and you're right, it's the oppressed groups, isn't it? It's if you've been oppressed by certain words, again, the typical one is the N word. Should that now be used at all? Because again, it was used to oppress us, so we should be careful with that kind of language. Also, on that note, anyone who works in HR will attest to this. There's certain job adverts where they've changed the language because they've realized that women don't actually apply if they see certain words on the job application. I don't know if you know this. So what they did is they changed, for the life of me, I can't remember. I need to get it up somehow. But anyone who works in HR would probably test to this. There's certain job applications where what they won't put is things like you need to be, I'm trying to think, is like independent or self-starter, because what that triggers in the minds of women is it's for us. It's very weird when I heard it the first time. When I look back at it, it's like, oh, okay, because these words are more masculine. You know what I mean? As opposed to, it allows for more females to think, oh, I can apply for this, because there's a stat that says if a man sees a job and he fills 2 of the 5 or 4 of the 10 he would apply. But if it's a woman, if she only has 4 of the 10 or 2 of the 5 that she qualifies for, she won't apply. So there's all these different things which are very interesting, psychological, which if you understand it, I get what you're saying. It's, if you understand the audience you're dealing with, you understand the historical implications of a word or a phrase, which sounds like you should be able to get over it, but to someone else, that's everything.
Yeah, most definitely. So, social intelligence is very important, man. And the millennials have got to understand that, and as well as the elders, that I said it, if you're different groups, one you could say one thing to that group, but that group you can't.
Yeah.
And you have to, you know, use a bit of wisdom, whatever you're gonna say. Wisdom and being very thoughtful is not an easy thing as human beings, because there i- there is something about us where, like, losing control is it's very liberating. The fact that you're not being mindful what you say, what you do. There's an element of loathiness when you're doing that. And to be able to control that, and not indulge in those types of dialogues as it pertains to not using emotional intelligence is very difficult. Self-control is very hard, man. So
No,
the
it is.
millennials, yeah,
And it's the reason why taking it a little bit off this topic, like Elon Musk taking over Twitter, people have kind of gone crazy because he wants to, how we don't want censorship of language,
yeah,
Twitter's, all these kind of things. You're right. It's very hard for people to control themselves. That takes a lot of patience, a lot of time. Some people are better at it than others will ever be.
yeah,
But you're right. It is very hard sometimes to just bite your tongue. 'Cause even
yeah.
I
It's,
can do
it's
it better than a lot
tricky.
of people give me credit for. Yeah.
Yeah,
So no, 100%. And I think, funny enough, that word emotional intelligence is something which I'm going to say this. The millennials have it better than the old generation, in my opinion. I think the old generation, again, um, that wasn't really the buzzword of their generation.
yeah,
But I do think millennials have a better grasp of it. And unfortunately, that's where we get tagged with this. You want everything on the plate. You want this, you want that. Now, some things are just generational. We have the microwave. We have we have TikTok. We have Facebook. We have, we have all these things which are speeding up the transfer of information. Therefore,
yeah,
naturally, you're going to be quicker in your mind, aren't you? And that's another thing.
yeah,
Old generation has a bit more patience. We are a
yeah,
bit more give it to me now, which is that's just
yeah.
it's about time. So
The only thing is, and this is no disrespect to the millennials, um, I myself have noticed that I'm starting to live in Futurama, and
you say Futurama? Did you say? Sorry.
Futurama, yeah, it's
Okay. I remember the cartoon, but sorry, continue.
yeah, well, exactly. It's just kind of a different era. It's
Yeah.
sometimes like Back to the Future, and sometimes I'll be with my kids, and it's like, whoa, you know what I mean? It's What I will say, one thing is that the apps and the information can make you very analytical,
Right.
and that can be a problem in certain situations. For example, um, if you are there's nothing wrong with intelligence, and there's nothing wrong with apps, and having this type of this type of machinery mindset. But what happens is it will lessen your natural um unpretentious mindset. It's almost as if you be robotic all the time. And I've noticed that with the millennials, they don't know how to communicate, because they're always on the apps all the time. It's just everything is just robotic. So they could take a leaf of the elders of making things a bit more natural, taking things a little bit easy, and balancing it, because we are living in a machinery type of world, man. I've noticed, man. You don't have to. Um, you can order things, anything that you want. You can do it on the internet now.
Yeah.
Whether it be profanity, whether it be food. App, holiday, app. You know what I mean? We are in an app world now, so they definitely need to understand that being too analytical can lose your humanity, if that makes any sense.
No. It makes perfect sense. I was on the live stream where it was talking about why are men lonely these days, and technology was brought into the fact of a lot of kids. So a lot of or at anyone really. You can buy food, book a flight. You can self checkout on a flight pretty much. I did it when I went to, was it EasyJet? When I went to, I think it was London Stansted. All I need to do was check in my bag, put a tag on it. It automatically went through. I basically spoke to about 2 people on my way into a plane, and you can buy your shopping. You can go to self-serve checkout if you actually go into a shopping supermarket. We've lost the ability to connect with people, and therefore people can't connect with people.
Yeah,
A lot of times we go through this phase called analysis paralysis, where we're over analytical by making just a move.
yeah,
It's crazy. So you're right. We have lost that ability to be able to network, connect, and just be, how can I put it, human? Not the right
yeah,
way.
exactly. Yeah, it's like the Jetsons now, man. It's it's but at the same time, like as I was saying, one of the best weapons for the millennials, man, if they you know capitalize on blueprints just to keep that humanity, because it's amazing. I mean, you go in the supermarkets, um, you see less cashiers now. You see robots. And you can lose yourself. You can get a little bit comfortable. Oh, I can just go into Google instead
Yeah,
of just
yeah,
reading a book or reading encyclopedia as it was back in the days, or the thesaurus. Okay, but now it's just, it's that can be a big problem. So the millennials, as I said, White Matters, they are the key and way forward, and we need to help them with their journey, because, as I said, we're not gonna be on the earth very long. So we have to. It's almost as if networking with teamwork. Don't see the millennials or the elders as competitors, because remember, as it pertains to our community, and that is one of the tricks that was used on us in the Willie Lynch, was getting the elders against the youngsters.
all right.
That was used, and because we are a people who haven't, unfortunately, our ancient prosperous ways has been erased from our mindset. So we're, finding ourselves. But I've noticed that type of strategy, what was used on us in captivity, you know, get the elders fighting against the youngsters. This seems to be permeating now. So we have to have like a treaty or a truce of, okay, I'm not going to be lasting too long. Not to say that the youngsters couldn't go before the elders, but you know, I'm losing the juice as an elder, so I'm going to pass things on. But also, I have to maneuver in Futurama society. So, you as a millennial, if you can teach me how to maneuver, how do I adapt to the machinery type of world, and we
Yeah.
can trade knowledge with each other and build up the society.
No, it's a very, very I think other communities do it better, if I be honest with you. But yeah, it is definitely something which we need to come back to. I think when you get older, you seek that more out, because even I just, from my personal experience, um, when you're young, you're more individualistic, and especially the society, it promotes that a lot. It's all about, getting you and yours and that kind of mentality. So, but I think as I'm getting older now, I'm more seeking to connect with my with my history through grandparents, parents, uncles, aunts, just to almost understand the source of who I am a little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, but sometimes I think that can be a bit too late, and by that time, certain families are fractured. It gets a little bit too, yeah, it gets a bit too crazy. But yeah, I definitely do think there needs to be a better, um, what's the word, passing down of the torch, as you mentioned. But it is a
Mm.
situation for sure where, I don't know, maybe the society nowadays is getting so much more individualistic, and more people are, funny enough, lonely, even though we are connected by, you know, a phone, for example, Facebook, Instagram. Is crazy, but yeah, I think our priorities at the moment aren't where it needs to be, because someone in the chat said something which I was agree with. It's only going to get worse now in the age of the metaverse. It's getting we're getting more in situations now where we're trying to hide, cloak ourselves, cloak our true selves, even still, away off in these little pockets of spaces. It's crazy. It's crazy. So yeah, we'll see how it ends up. But we're building more nests to conclave, to to separate ourselves from the world, but a nice
Yeah,
nest. That's what we're doing. We're not building
yeah,
communities where we're linking. We're building more individual networks, if you like. It's funny. It's funny.
yeah, yeah.
So no, absolutely, absolutely. Um, I wasn't going to stay too long, Kale. So
Right.
I'll be honest with you, is football's on tonight, and for the people in chat, same football's on
Oh,
tonight. So yeah, it's one of those ones we've got a couple of games I've got my eye on. So I
right,
apologize for everyone, but yeah, I'm definitely going to wrap up next sort of 15 or so minutes. So apologies,
right.
apologies, but yeah, it's it's one of those ones, you know how it is.
Yeah,
But I suppose let me if I look to the future then,
yeah.
because there's another generation or a couple of generations coming up behind us who I think for me, I have a lot more faith in the younger generation just because they seem to have a little bit more. Well, this is the thing, a bit more get out a drive, but they seem to have a bit more of a um what's the word? A side hustle built into their DNA, especially when you got social media. Everyone's like a YouTuber, everyone's a TikToker, everyone's this. So I don't know whether you're saying that millennials are building businesses, but I think even the generation behind us are
Right.
going to be the ones who will be very, very apt in order to, I won't say necessarily navigate, but definitely be better at adapting to the environment because they were born into the environment. Whereas millennials, depending when you were born, you might have
Right.
been born in the age of MSN Messenger before all this other crap came into the place. To be fair, um,
Right.
I'll have to see. I'll have to see. But I do have a bit more faith. I don't know. I don't know. I think millennials are some of them are done, some of them are okay. But I don't know. I may have faith in the younger generation. That might be just my hope more than any
Yep.
science on that. So I don't know. So yeah. So yeah.
The only thing is which is very alarming. With the new generation, I've noticed. And by the way, white man, this is very controversial.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Um, I have noticed that multiculturalism is definitely rising, and I understand that we can learn off each other. As human beings, we are in different tribes,
Yeah.
and that's great. It's just that the millennials who are African descendants, they're gonna have to understand that although it's amazing this new type of technology and you know this type of Futurama type of society, but you cannot ever forget that everybody practices their race first,
Right.
and the millennials need to have one foot in and one foot out because they will get swallowed up like the elders did, unfortunately, as it pertains to the African descendants. When they came to UK, Europe, or America, um, with the exception of those who were enslaved, right? They kind of got caught up in certain lifestyles and certain types of treaties.
Right.
And then we don't have anything right now. So I urge them to blend in as much as you can. But remember, one foot in blending in, one foot out is make sure you serve and provide and enhance your community because we are disfranchised people who everybody takes from us and never gives back to us, if that makes any sense.
It does. I think the phrase I would use is integrate but don't assimilate. I think we've assimilated, and I'll be honest with you, Kel, you may not like this, but I've kind of given up the ghost on that kind of conversation a little bit, just because, just again talking to, well, even on my panel, you've noticed this. A lot of people have just, yeah, it's yeah, I've kind of just a lot of it's too late. I'm trying to save who I can save, or speak to who you can speak to. But as a mass on whole, yeah, you I have massive respect for people who do try. But yeah, it's really going to be a futile effort for a lot, especially at this late stage of the game. There's something in the waters over here which I want to tackle another stream, but I want to try and be delicate as I can be. But
Yeah, of
there's something
course.
in the
Yeah.
waters over here which, for me, breeds this so
Yeah.
badly. So yeah,
But the
it's
thing is, why it matters is, could we then say, all due respect to you, brother, that if
yeah,
we do kind of say, well, it's too late for that, then are we not falling into the mindset of what the elders before us were doing? Because this is the mistake what they made. They lost their, because we're of age now. So it's like, oh, I can't see it happening. I can't see, but that's what they did. And then now we're in a situation due to their assumption and assuming the future, which they don't know the future. They just know what's in front of them. And then the situation we're in now. So should we really have that type of no disrespect to the elders, that type of mindset of I can't see it happening, it's too late and things like that, even though we've faced what they presumed on us? Should we have?
I mean, I would say this. I agree. I think where I'm at with it, and this is my analogy that I would use, almost like a cancer patient. If you don't catch it quick enough, by the time you've got it, the cancer spread. And
Yeah,
instead of it being a incision or maybe chemotherapy that could tackle it, or how they would do surgery on a part of the body, it's all through the bones. So I think, yes, in answer to your question, I agree. The only thing is, where I'm at with my feelings is the cancer spread to the bones. So right now it's a case of we need to make you feel as comfortable as we can do. You've got 6 months left. You've got this amount of months left.
yeah,
Um, that's how I feel of it. I don't think that, I'm hoping that's not the case, but that's kind of how I feel about it. I'll have to um ultimately I want to be where you are, Kale. That's what I'm saying. Ultimately I want to be where you are. I think there is a space still for that, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm chewing and throwing sometimes, Kale, but ultimately I
yeah,
want to say yes, I agree with you, and I really do. But when I diagnose the situation, when I look at it on the analytical lens, it's like the cancer spread.
yeah.
It's crazy.
I think as a people, um, hope and being strategic and strategies is definitely a great element that we need because, you know, if you don't have hope, then you automatically fall into despair. And which speaks to, if you have like a survival mindset that whatever I have to survive, my people need to survive, and you do whatever it takes to make sure they survive, then the job will get done. I mean, the reason I'm talking this way because ancestors did exactly the same thing. We have to um, survive under hope with strategies so our descendants can live on and prosper as much as they can. If we don't have that, then we're definitely going to die out. And
No, no, no. Yeah, I agree. And
yeah,
I suppose with that, I'll say this. Yes, but again, I'm at a stage where I'm almost, you know, the story of Lot and his wife, and how the whole Sodom and Gomorrah, it was only Lot and his, I say Lot and his wife, but Lot managed to survive. I feel as
oh
if
yeah,
I feel as if it needs to be or Noah and the Ark. There's only going to be
yeah,
a small minority
that's right. Yeah,
of, yeah. So that's where I'm kind of. I think for me personally, the
yeah,
best way is for the small minority to show everyone else, but ultimately,
yeah,
it's only going to be 8 of you or 6 of you on that arc. There's only going to be so many people who's going to leave. I don't think it's going to be like a Moses and taking a whole children of Israel out of Egypt. I don't see that. I see
right,
it
right.
more of a Noah's Ark. So I think sometimes the
Yeah,
thinking is we need to get everyone like Moses and taking the children of Israel out. I don't think that's what it is. I think
yeah,
it's more Noah's and his ark is only a few people until it's too late, and it is what it is.
yeah, yeah.
That's how I see it. So I don't know if you agree or not. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, there's only going to be a small amount. It's
Yeah.
just that I'll give you a quick example. Like, we want to preserve our race, right? We want to survive, but then we have a problem. Um, with you don't have to be rude, but you do have to understand, like, okay, interracial relate. Because someone's in the comment, they were saying that my great grandkids will likely be non-black, and you can prevent that. We can all prevent that by having stricter codes of conduct. You don't have to mistreat non-African people, right? As I said before, keeping away from non-African people, it should not be about emotion. It should be strategies. Due to the fact that we have been our dopamines towards them gives us imagination, emotion, and leads us to not think clearly in the drunken state. So we want to be sober. So in order to be sober, you need certain types of strategies without being emotional. So that will prevent our great grandchildren That's what the comment says of becoming non-black, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. It does. And again, it's it's one of those things now where it all depends on how widespread everything is and how possible it all is at this stage of the game. But no, I'm definitely on the boat of just, you know what, at this stage, the people who do want to be in that situation, by all means, I think now it's a case of you need to show and tell and prove that it works in the way that you say it works. And then
Yeah,
I'm hoping if people want to follow, they'll follow, and if not, it is what it is.
yeah,
That's kind of where it is. And yeah, so that's how I see it on that particular topic.
yeah,
To be honest with you, it's one of those ones where
yeah,
like, it is what it is. For some people, it is. For some people, it's not. And it's people have their own life to live, and sometimes, yeah, yeah. I want to sound defeatist, care, but yeah, it is what it is.
yeah.
But no. But anyway, thanks, Kale, for coming and jump on this live stream. Everyone in chat, thank you for tuning in. I do appreciate each and every one of you. Make sure you like the stream, subscribe if you are new, and if you're listening onto the playback. The topic was on about millennials and the sense of entitlement. So, Kale, thank you for the conversation. Do appreciate it. Always appreciate your viewpoints on these things. Very varied. So, I do want to get you on another live stream. So, I'll connect with you sometime, because I do want a topic I wanted to pick your brains on.
I'm trying to think. I'll give you my email. Let me see if I
Yeah.
can write it in and stuff like okay, I can't do it in the private. Oh yeah, I'll give you my email, and anything trying to think.
Yeah, I'm a football junkie, so the Champions League's on. Plus, Forest is playing as well. We're trying to get back into the Premier League. They're playing Fulham tonight, so we got to get back up there. We got to represent for the Midlands. All right, so this is
Yeah,
how it is. All right.
yeah. And put my email in I'll put my email in the private chat.
Yeah,
So
got you,
yeah.
got you.
My brother. Well, enjoy, my brother.
I know.
Enjoy, man.
No, but appreciate you for coming by, stopping by. I do appreciate it. So it is what it is. So, but yeah, thank you everyone again for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. I hope that everyone has a fantastic evening. I'm hoping to do another live stream on Thursday. So please tune in. Hopefully it should be around the normal time of 7:30, and we can go on for a little bit longer. But no, this has only been a short one, but a good one, an excellently good one. So it may be one to revisit at a later future date. But again, please like the stream, share, subscribe if you are new. And until next time, thank you, everyone. We're out of here.
Take care.
Take care. Take care.